So the classic LFO is basically just a classical LFO, and it's also a very versatile LFO because you can dial in a lot of settings here. We have some shapes here. We have sine, we have tree, we have pulse, saw, and we have also random and smoothed random. So it's also not only an LFO, it's also a random modulator in itself. We have your speed setting, which goes up to 50 Hertz. And it's pretty fast, and it goes down to 0.01 Hertz. Pretty slow, actually. And we have, of course, here some beat synchronized modes. So we have 164, and we can go as slow as 32 bars. And I use this sometimes to sequence generative music. So when I have multiple synths playing and I want to have these synths go out or come in back in a very slow manner, then I use this setting here and modulate just the volume like this. And then it takes 32 bars basically to blend the synthesizer in, and it takes 32 bars to blend this synthesizer out again. So it's pretty helpful sometimes for generative music to sequence generative music. And then when I want to have the loudest part or the peak part of this LFO at a certain point or at a different point, I use the phase setting here to offset basically the phase of the LFO to the left or to the right. So this is also nice to use here, the phase setting. So when I bring this over here, maybe a bit faster, 1.4, basically can offset the highest peak part to a different point in time. It's hard to explain actually without visuals. So we have also here an amount knob, which applies the amount strength. You not only can apply the strength here with the mapping itself, like this. You can also say I want to dial this down to 20%, so it doesn't modulate that much anymore. And it's also helpful when you want to modulate this parameter with a different modulator, right? So you have like an LFO here, different LFO, and you want to modulate this amount. Have like cross modulations, which is helpful to have this amount knob here. So in here we have also note retrigger. So every time we play a note or the note on is played, like this one, you have multiple notes. So every time a note plays, we retrigger the LFO. You can see here then. Or we can just play here the whole sequence of the LFO across all notes. And we have, of course, here per voice setting, but you can see it's disabled in the synchronized mode because it makes no sense. When everything is synchronized, all voices have basically the same modulation applied. So only the Hertz setting makes sense to have this per voice, and then use maybe a key track modulator here and change the speed for each key setting differently. So when we have here like multiple notes, something like this. So each note has a different value because it has a different note value, and it gets a different point here on this line. And then we apply different modulation strength to the speed setting here. So every note has a different hertz, basically, modulation. You can see here, every dot is basically a note we are playing here, and every note gets a different modulation speed of the LFO because we have the per voice mode active here, and we dial in a different modulation speed with the key track here. So the higher the note is on this piano roll, the faster it modulates the LFO, which is super nice to create interesting sounds just with these two modulators here alone. Okay, so the classic LFO is a nice versatile LFO for all kinds of situations.